Section 1. Welcome to Liathle. The aim of this app is to teach you the correct grammatical gender of French nouns. On the main screen you will see three buttons: the Start button, which takes you to the practice screen, the Settings button, which takes you to the app settings, and the Statistics button, which will take you to the statistics screen. Let's click on the Start button to get started. Here's the practice
Chose.
screen. As you could hear, an audio has just played. It is the audio of the pronunciation of the noun whose gender you'll be trying to learn. On the screen there are a few key elements. 1. The word itself. This is the noun whose gender we are trying to match. 2. The English translation of the word. 3. An example French sentence which uses the word. 4. The English translation of the example sentence. 5. At the bottom there are two buttons, le and la. These correspond to the definite articles in French equivalent to the word in English, with the difference that le marks a noun, which is grammatically masculine, and la marks a noun, which is grammatically feminine. Your goal is to click on the correct gender of the noun in question. Once you do that, you will move on to another word.
Merci.
By default, the words are organized into a stack of 10, meaning that as you answer them correctly, they will repeat starting from the first word until you meet a threshold of 3 correct answers in a row per noun. Once that happens, the word disappears from your learning stack and will be placed into the review stack, which we'll discuss later. So let's do a few more, shall we? Selecting the incorrect article means that the count of correct answers in a row is set back to 0 for that noun, and you will have to redo the word from the beginning, meaning that you'll have to get 3 in a row again. When you get 5, 10, 20, 50, etc. words in a row correctly, you get a message of
Chose.
encouragement and a point multiplier. We'll get to what the points are and what the multipliers are shortly once we discuss the statistics section. For now, let's speed up our learning process. Once some words have been answered 3 times in a row correctly, they will disappear from your learning stack and new words will appear. Your goal is to learn all the words. Now let's go back to the main menu. Let's discuss the statistics screen. This screen consists of your total score. The score gets calculated as follows. For each right answer, you get a baseline of +5 points. This can increase thought as you earn a modifier. You get a ×2 modifier if you answer 5 nouns in a row correctly. This then increases to ×4 when you get 10 in a row correctly, up to ×8 at 20, at which point every subsequent correct answer will earn you 40 points. You can see the modifier that you're on in the pop-up messages during practice. Wrong answers don't penalize your score, but your streak resets to 0 and you have to build it back up. Next, we see the words learn statistic. Remember when I said that you have to answer a word correctly 3 times in a row for it to get removed from the learning stack? Well, this statistic shows just that. How many words you learned so far? There's a current streak counter. It counts the number of days that you have been using the app continuously. It resets back to 0 if you miss a day. Next, we've got the completion bar. It relates to the words learned statistic. Basically, it is the percentage of words learned from the entire dataset of available new words. Your goal is to get this to 100%. Following that, there's a review mastery bar. We'll get back to that as we discuss reviewing. There's the average cards per day statistic. It's pretty self-explanatory. It calculates how many noun cards you manage to learn and review per day. Please note that it currently shows 0 because it needs at least 2 days of data in order to calculate your average. Finally, we have the total answers statistic. It gives you the amount of total answers that you've ever given while using the app, whether right or wrong. Let's go back to the main menu. Let's see the last button left, which is the settings screen. As we can see, we have quite a wide array of options, but don't worry, we'll go through them one by one. First, we have the learn threshold. Remember when I said that you need to answer the noun's gender 3 times in a row? Well, that's because this is the default, but you can change that if you want here. If you think that before moving on to the next word, you really want to perfect it, then you may change this to 5 or more. If on the other hand you prefer a more fast-paced approach and are confident that you already know a lot, then change this to 2 or even 1 to substantially speed up your progress. Following that, we have the review threshold. We'll go back to this soon in the review section, so stay put. There are multiple toggles available. Let's go one by one. Show English translation. Turning this toggle off will hide the English translation of the French noun from the practice screen. Show French example. Turning this toggle off will hide the French example sentence from the practice screen. Show English translation example. Turning this toggle off will hide the English translation of the French example sentence from the practice screen. Enable audio playback. If you'd rather not hear the pronunciation of the French words, you can disable that here. Show streak pop-ups. Turning this toggle off will disable those streak pop-ups during reviewing. Finally, the enable tutorial eye icon will hide this little eye icon on the top right of the practice screen. We'll get back to what this does soon. Next, we have the app theme buttons. There's an option for you to select a light or a dark theme. By default, the system default theme is selected to match what you have selected on your device. Here's how the app will look using the light theme. Moving on to the reminder settings button, the app has a notifications functionality which you have full control over. These notifications serve as reminders for you to practice. They are entirely optional, but if you feel like you might want a little nudge to help you learn, and you can set them here. You enable them by setting the Enable Daily Practice Reminders toggle on. You will be then prompted to allow Atla the permission to send notifications. Without this permission, no reminders can be scheduled. Please note that if you don't allow this permission now, but in the future would want notifications, then you will have to grant this permission manually via your device's app's permissions in the settings of your device. Once the permission has been granted, the notifications won't be scheduled yet. First, you have to select a desired time for them to show. Let's say 10:30 in the morning. Next, you'll have to select days on which you'd like the notification to show. Let's select Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. This means that on these days you will receive a notification at 10:30 a.m. Let's go back to the main settings page. The final three buttons are simply the licenses page, where you can read the licenses for the app alongside attributions for the dataset and the audio recordings. The privacy policy, which shows the up-to-date privacy policy governing your usage of the app. And the rewatch tutorial button, which merely shows a link to this tutorial that you're watching right now. Section 2. Reviews. A core functionality of the app, which we just brushed aside up till now, are the reviews. Basically, in order to build a long-lasting memory of the grammatical genders of the nouns, reviews are necessary. Simply learning the word for the first time is good, but it's unlikely that you'll be able to retain this information long-term. When some words are learned, the app puts them in the review stack. This review stack will first be available for you to access in the subsequent day after learning. So far, we managed to learn 19 words, as you remember in the statistics section. A day has passed since then. Let's click on the Start button again. This time, we are greeted by the practice session screen. This screen will only pop up if we have cards scheduled to be reviewed today, otherwise it will work just like it did in the beginning, meaning that it will take you straight to learning new nouns. However, since we have 19 cards that we learned yesterday, this screen will pop up. As we can see, we have the score information. Following that, we can see how many new cards are left for us to learn in total. Below that is the Lean New Cards button. It will take you to the same practice session that we already covered, where we learn new words. Below that we see cards to review today, which are the 19 we learned yesterday, and a button to review them. Let's click on it. You will immediately notice that the session looks identical to the previous one, however it contains only the words that are for us to review, so let's quickly get them done. Going back, we can see that the number of cards left to review for us is 0, meaning we reviewed them all. During the review session, you may have noticed that it was shorter. This is because the default for passing is not 3, but 2, meaning that you only need to get 2 in a row correct. In the settings, this option can be changed by changing the review threshold. Once the words have been successfully reviewed in the review stack, they don't leave this stack, however. What happens though is this: if you make no mistakes during the review session for the word, and its scheduled date is twice of what it was before in principle, this means that a word that was scheduled tomorrow will now be scheduled to reappear in 2 days. When 2 days pass and you review the same word flawlessly, then its review schedule will now be set to 4 days, etc. But if you fail on any of these words during review, the review schedule gets automatically set to tomorrow for these days. If you remember, in the statistics section, there was the review mastery bar, which was empty. This is because that bar takes into account all the words that you have learned so far and are present in your review stack. Once the scheduled review date for a word is over 16 days, then that word will be considered mastered, and the bar will go up. 16 days means that you have continuously answered the word correctly without fail during 5 review sessions. Your goal long term is to have as many mastered words as possible, which symbolizes long-term retention. Be careful though. When a word is considered mastered, but you selected the wrong gender in review after that, it will be removed from the mastered pile, and the review mastery statistic will decrease. Section 3. Tutorial icons. Finally, you might have noticed so far that I skipped over one part in the tutorial. On almost every page on the top right corner there's a little icon with the letter I in the middle. This is the information page. If you ever get confused about anything within the app, these little icons provide information about the screen that you're currently on, giving you information about each part and functionality present in the app so that you won't need to rewatch this tutorial again. And that's it. I hope that you will have a pleasant time learning the grammatical genders of thousands of French nouns. In case of any questions, I welcome you to either email me via the email link provided in the licenses page and the privacy policy in the settings screen of the app, or you may join a Discord community made for this app. The link to it is on the screen and in the video description of this video, as well as on the licenses page. Happy learning!